wondering how I got into this mix.
Hey everyone, this is Derrick Broze of the Conscious Resistance Network, and I'm talking with a returning guest, a friend, and a contributor to our website, Mr. Yohan of Anarchy, Freedom, India, and we're going to be talking a little bit about his experience in India, of course, but specifically in relation to the lockdown that's taking place in response to COVID-19 and the technologies that are rolling out the technocracy in India, and also how this might be informative to those of us in North America or the UK and other parts of Europe as far as what might be coming our way. So how are you doing today, brother?
Hey Derek, man, it's great to speak to you again after last time. I'm doing very well, and I'm doing very well. But sadly, a lot of the people who are living here aren't doing so well because of what's going on. So I'm glad you had me on, so I can actually discuss what's going on the ground over here, because I see a lot of people from the West also. I mean, you guys are having it relatively easier, but in a developing country like ours, the situation is much more messed up because you have a large percentage of the population which is really living under the poverty line, and a
Yep.
lot of migrants
Absolutely.
uh, atrocities going on against them. So maybe we can start with me just highlighting some of the stuff that's cool.
Yeah, please go ahead and start right there.
Yeah, all right.
Well, first, actually, Johan, is there anything you can tell us about where you're at? Like you said, you're faring fairly well right now. Like things are things locked down where you are?
Yeah, so I live in Mumbai, which is like the financial capital of India, and the whole country is locked up. So when I say I'm relatively better out here, I mean in the sense that I live in a private community, like a gated community, and we have a big garden behind, and like a lot of free space to move. So we have it a little lucky where I'm living, because I know friends who are living in other private communities as well, and the cops have literally come and shut the gates and put bamboo sticks on the gates and stuff. And it's like anyone who's coming from outside to deliver groceries has to stop at the gate, and then they have the procedure to let things back in. So even in my city, like Mumbai is supposed to be one of the hotspots. So it's tighter over here in some places, but the area I'm living in is kind of posh and elite. So the police aren't that nasty as they are in like many other places in India. And even like right now, it's starting to get more tighter, because like even in my colony, the private sort of backyard jungle area that I was telling you about, they shut it. So now no, I can't go there for a walk and stuff. So it's just getting increasingly tighter and tighter. But on a more positive side, I mean, this is not something to be thankful for, but the police were very heavy-handed initially. There's a lot of police brutality and stuff going on, people getting beaten up, people like dying of walking. I'll show you all that right now, but I'm just giving you like a broad picture. So the police brutality was like much worse earlier, but it sort of got better and calmed down as the days have passed. They've sort of handling the situation better, even from a status perspective. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad that there's some silver lining there.
Yeah. So if I can show you some stuff, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah. So this is what the people had to go through. Like some of the migrants in the cities were literally marching back to the villages. So some of the people have had to walk for like 200, 300, up to like 700, 800 kilometers, which is like a kilometer is a mile is 1.2 kilometers. So like around 1,000, little less than 1,000 miles. Some
Wow.
people have had to walk to go back. So this is what that looks like. It's like literally people walking back to villages on the highways and stuff.
And they're walking back from where?
It's mainly migrants who've sort of come from the rural pockets of India to work in the
Okay.
cities. So what happened is they imposed this lockdown, and then these people did not get adequate support from the state or from the communities, because initially there's a lot of panic, and it is difficult to get your hand on supplies, because the prime minister just came and abruptly, and they also shut down all the travel. So the trains were closed, the buses were closed. So I mean, I went to deliver food as well. Like, my friends and I were going to sort of help these people out in like whatever capacity we could. So a lot of them had got sort of chucked out.
Wow. So
construction projects.
so
They weren't given.
the businesses are closing down, and these people are basically having to go back to their rural communities,
Yeah,
villages.
yeah. So a lot
Okay.
of these people are in like migrant labor kind of work. So when the for the stuck in the projects without any food and stuff. So a lot of them had to go back like literally out of desperation, because it was sort of a question of eating or dying. And a couple of people have, like, I think at least 20 people have died walking back to their villages. They sort of eat and go, but many people died on the way as well. So that's pretty messed up, honestly. Yeah, so this is some of the treatment that the people have had to go through. You can see they're being made to bend on their knees, and this is just a picture. But if you see some of the videos like this, they've been made to do like sit on their knees and then do like frog jumps kind of thing. So like absolutely humiliating, pathetic behavior towards these poor people. They've been treated like cattle in some cases. They've walked from the cities to the villages, and then they're sprayed with disinfectant like out in the open. I don't have that video, but that video is like pretty gross, so I didn't even want to show it here, honestly.
Well, Johan, I just want you to speculate if you could, or even just share, I guess, what you know based because you live there, obviously. I mean, why do you think that that happens to the people in the coming from the rural areas? I mean, it seems like something that might be happening, that this sort of thing happens all over the world. But is that just a part of the Indian culture where the folks from the city, specifically the authorities, kind of look down on the people from the rural areas?
Uh, yeah, I mean, there's this kind of sentiment in the cities that these migrants are coming and stealing the jobs and stuff. Especially in my state, there is this kind of sentiment that from places like Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, they sort of come and steal people's jobs. So a lot of people have this kind of cynical attitude towards them. And I mean, the police, people in general are very barbaric. I don't want to mince words or be politically correct, but if you see how the police behave with these people, like I don't think there's any other words for it. They can't behave like that in rich pockets where people are relatively well off, but where they can flex their muscles, they do it pretty openly. Like just see this. You get a feel for like how they're treating the people who are selling vegetables on the roads as well. And they're like,
Jesus.
I mean, and this is an essential service. The food is an essential service, and they're going around like this and
What the
toppling
fuck?
people's food stalls.
That's
So
ridiculous.
yeah, yeah, you see that?
Yeah, that's
Like it's like
crazy. There's a lot of big open markets like that in Mexico as well, and I just can't even imagine seeing the. Not that I put it past them, but I just can't even imagine seeing them just come there and destroy or knock down people's food.
yeah. Most of the we talk about black markets and free markets and stuff. Most of India still at this point, even though there's a lot of social engineering and manipulation involved from the ruler's side, most of the economy is still based on cash and based on direct like P2P things like this, where these people will come up to your neighborhood and sort of sell things locally. You don't necessarily have to go to a supermarket or something to buy all stuff. So they issued orders basically like banning all these people, and at least in where I'm living, they did that. And most of the stuff happens through like I said, like e-commerce people delivering groceries and essentials, and then it comes to your gate. So I mean, this fits into the kind of larger picture as well, that they want to crush all the small and medium sized businesses and the people who are trying to be independent on themselves and make them dependent on the state. So I'm seeing the same kind of trends out here, that the small people are getting hurt the most, like the small and medium sized businesses, and everything is sort of moving to these Amazon type corporations that are taking over more and more of the food and other supplies and stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I told you there's a lot of police brutality going on over here. So in this video, it's like the police were messing with the cops. Sorry, the police was messing with this guy. They beat him up really badly, and the media kind of twisted it because they didn't show this part where this guy is getting humiliated and beaten up, but then they just show the part later on where this guy sort of retaliates and pushes back against the police. So in general, also there's this kind of mentality in India, and like the media and social engineering have a big role to play in that. Like uh, there are series like Crime Patrol which portray the police in a good light, and the police comes and saves the day every time. So a lot of Indians don't have this mentality towards the police that they are the lapdogs of the state and they just like to oppress people and stuff. But the police are seen in a relatively good fashion. So this is why, like, even when these cases were coming out of the police beating up the poor, of poor people getting thrashed and dying from getting thrashed, like I'll show you this one story. This one man died because he went out to get milk and the police beat him up and he died. So you know I mean, it's changing obviously because it's getting more and more obvious. So people are forced to see right now that the police are abusing their power and, behaving in a very untoward fashion. But it's nowhere near where it needs to be, honestly. That kind of psychological change is not there yet. Yeah.
So did they? I see that the post there says that they shot that guy after arresting him. Did they kill him or did they just shoot him?
He got shot in the leg from what I saw. I think there's this part at the end of the video as well where he says that they do give lip service, like I said, I said that he got brutally lynched. So they do give lip service and say, yeah, we'll suspend these cops and stuff. But it's kind of similar, to how police brutality works in America as well, that they sort of let them out for a while and then they come back and then they get pay raises and stuff. So it's kind of the same blueprint. And the police out here have gone and received extensive training in Israel as well. Technology is being imported over here because our prime minister has cozied up to Israel and runs the there in India earlier. Earlier, we were more like a non-aligned ever since the turn of the century, we started moving closer and closer towards the American-Israeli orbit in terms of geopolitics and their influence in India in
Yeah.
general. And even if you see like the religious situation out here, the government is like far right Hindutva nationalist, so they gel very well with the Zionists as well. This is why like a lot of the close interactions with the media people out here are taken to Israel and given tours and stuff to sort of mold their minds and make hard on Israel. So Israeli influence out here is a big thing, and you get to see that, especially once you understand the religious dynamic over here. Like uh, the government is like a source of lot of bigotry and hatred towards the Muslims in general. And I mean, I don't like to get into the dialectic. Obviously, there are Muslims who are messed up and who mindset in the people that they've been cultivating ever since they got into power, that the Muslims are always the villain. So even like after incident as well, it's like you think, okay, at least in the time of a pandemic, pe- people would have the spirit where they would come together and leave all the divisions and religious bullshit aside. But uh, the party in power literally blamed the spread of the outbreak to a religious, like Muslim religious group kind of thing. So it's the same thing, nothing stopped. It sort of got even worse because a lot of people think now that there's this one Muslim group that was spitting on people, and I've seen a lot of the footage. It honestly looks staged, like it's just like someone filming it and this guy who's posing as a Muslim going and spitting on stuff. So some incidents might be true, but the hypocrisy is there. There might be Muslim people who are doing this kind of stuff and intentionally wanting to spread the disease, but then there are many cases of Hindus and other people who go around doing the same stuff as well. So those kind of incidents are totally left out, and the full focus is on just demonizing Muslims, and that connects into the whole National Register of Citizens and the Citizenship Amendment Act as well, which I did a video on earlier. But it's basically like they're creating this technocratic state, and the worst ones to suffer in that initially at least will be the Muslims, because they are asking literally everyone in the country to prove their citizenship, and those who can't prove it will be kicked out of the country. So I mean, I don't want to go into the details of that, but basically, like, there is legislation coming into play wherein a lot of people are going to become citizenless and lose their property rights and civil rights and stuff like that. So that was going on right before this thing happened, and this thing has sort of taken over. So everything is just corona, corona, corona. But I'm sure, like, once this thing settles, they'll as well, because that's the whole point of it. So yeah, man, like these are just some like lockdown starves 11-year-old boy some police brutality. One sec.
Lots
Yeah,
of
so
lots of starvation, it seems like.
yeah, so a lot of people have starved as well. You might this story is kind of funny, but not really. Yeah, amid lockdown, Arunachal hunters kill king cobra for meal, and they literally killed like this big cobra because the food grains ran out of stock. So, this is some areas like people have animals people would normally eat just to survive because the
Wow.
supplies are running out. Like I've seen much worse stuff about the supply chain itself, like being very in great danger because people aren't coming to work and people are not like going out to make the supply chain possible. Like they've allowed it, but a lot of people are voluntarily choosing to stay at home because of the fear. So even the whole food system of the country is in great jeopardy. But I think that's kind of relaxed now because they're starting to slowly open up, moving again. But I like we just have to see how it goes. Like right now, I can't say anything about that really.
Wow. So I mean, you're dealing with the continued rollout of the technocratic state that was already happening prior to this, but then sort of it might be on the pause for the moment, but it's
And
going to continue going forward. Correct?
yeah, so like a lot of places in the West have had drones and facial recognition stuff being used. Even out here in a slum called Dharavi. Uh, Wait one sec, I'll just find that for you. So I mean, this thing is annoying me a little bit. One sec. Come on. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Drones heat maps. How civic officials are checking COVID-19 spread in Dharavi. So this is one of the biggest slums in my city, like where I'm living, and the cases have really like skyrocketed over there. And then obviously like there are a lot of problems with the testing and how the case numbers are being reported and stuff. But even if you take it at face value, like the cases are supposed to be spiking here. So and these are like densely populated areas. They have like one bedroom living like in one flat, so like really poor areas where the sanitation, like things are really dirty and there are like sewers running outside the houses and stuff. I've been there especially. So they're using drones and like drones with pretty accurate like imaging capabilities as well. They're flying out, and if people sort of congregate in one place, their pictures are being taken and sent to this like the big screen where all these law enforcement people are keeping a watch on that. So I mean, Aadhaar is supposed to be one of the biggest projects out here with respect to the biometric grid and the technocratic state, and it's going to get worse. So right now, I saw some RTI documents. Someone filed an RTI with the government, and they've got to a point where they literally admitted now that they want to connect this card, this biometric thing, to every single aspect of our lives and literally create a surveillance state. They're saying that now, and of course. This crisis is only going to give them more reasons to do that kind of thing because it's going to justify sort of immunization passports to be able to travel, which is something the World Economic Forum has been speaking about for quite some time. And this kind of technocratic
So I'd like to. I know you have some more links you want to go through here.
sorry, I didn't hear you, Derek.
I
Can
was
you come
saying,
again?
I'd like to ask you a couple questions, but I know you have some more links to get through, so I want to give you a chance to show us everything you want to show us before I ask you some more questions.
Yeah, sure. So I showed you the stuff with people starving, and yeah, this is the last thing I want to touch on. So like I'm literally showing you like how every aspect of the globalist agenda is getting ticked off with this, even in India as well. It's not just happening abroad. So uh, like you can see this guy, he's from my city. He was talking about like how the COVID is a government's conspiracy to target certain communities. He's talking about Muslims basically, like what I was alluding to earlier. So they picked him up, like he got arrested. Some of the people I'm working with, who were protesting, like even I went to the protest of the NRC and stuff, but some of my Muslim friends who were protesting over there, they got knocks on the door and got picked up by officials to go for testing because they were in that protest where other people also got coronavirus from. So this kind of stuff is happening, and a lot of people are getting heat from the state in for just expressing opinions, for just sharing stuff online, which might not agree with. And then there
So
are
the
just
fake news attack is going on over there as well.
yeah, fake news has been very we have this thing here called, like, everyone talks about WhatsApp University. So there was a trend in India, I mean there still is, but a lot of people have this idea that fake news spreads on WhatsApp, and then the people in the rural pockets and stuff act on that to lynch people. And that's true, but they're sort of using that thing about fake news spreading through WhatsApp mainly and other social media to sort of crack down. There have been petitions filed in the Supreme Court where the government is asked to literally censor hate speech and stuff like that. So we're seeing the same kind of thing that's happening in the West with respect to the censorship and the deletion of freedom of speech happening over here as well. And this is just like, I just found one person in the Indian media like openly talking about some rational concepts. Like, this guy is a CEO of a big company here, and he was saying that this lockdown is kind of it's too far out. Like, we didn't need something like this, and we could have just got by with protecting the vulnerable and then letting the population go on. And like, there is some sense starting to seep in now with establishment type people as well. Like, some epidemiologists are coming out and saying that the lockdown was fine till now, but now we need to like build herd immunity and get the healthy and the young out in the population so that they can protect the old that way, because we can't hide from the virus forever or till a vaccine is out, obviously. So there is some sense sort of kicking in right now, but I mean, it's just been really sad to see this last month, especially with the kind of stuff that's going on. It just seems like straight out of a dystopian novel, to be honest.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I'm reading some of the article that you're showing, and it sounds like a statement that more and more people have been saying, which is that we could have, rather than locking down entire nations and destroying economies, that there might have been a more reasonable approach to this. But obviously, we understand that the people in power aren't reasonable, and that they're not just letting this crisis go to waste, that they're seizing whatever power they can. And
Yeah.
and like you said, the technocracy might be the furthest along in India, maybe China, maybe a couple other places. But unfortunately, what you guys are dealing with is, I think, a window of what's to come for other places. But even in the face of this, the coronavirus pandemic, the attack on independent media under the guise of fighting fake news, people literally starving in the streets, and the growth of the biometrics and the facial recognition and everything, you are still out there and you're still building and still trying to educate people and wake people up. So let's talk about a little bit about that before we start to wrap up, the solutions and the things that you are actually still working on out there.
So I guess what's happening right now has really shaken a lot of people up, even with the communities that I'm involved in and the reach that I have right now. I'm seeing my message and the information that I'm involved with and sharing growing a lot as well. So I saw this happening, and then I was like, okay, like now I've reached a certain amount of subscribers and stuff, so I can start building a community, and I can start actually gathering people, and we can start thinking about what we really want to do. So I mean, it's just been a very short amount of time, and that community is growing very well, and there are some like really awake people from all over India and different states who are part of my community. So I mean, I'm really big on freedom cells, like after getting inspired from you, obviously. So right now we can't do anything, obviously, because I don't even like mind going out and protesting it. I don't have any problems with that, but it's just a foolish thing to do if the population is not on your side, and like you guys are just like 10 or 15 people. You get picked off very easily, and the people will not have any sympathy for you because the mindset is not changed yet with the people. So just kind of staying discreet and building the resistance with respect to the information. Like, a lot of people over there are passionate, and we're doing everything we can to translate the content into different languages so we can make it reach people that way. And we're thinking about building freedom cells, especially once this thing is over. So what my plans are is, I want to collect the people who I think are the most knowledgeable and influential in all these states in India, and then start individual Anarchy for Freedom chapters over there, so we can build stuff on the ground. I have friends already, I think I told you this, but I have friends in my own state who have this off grid kind of solution. So he has it very well out there. He's in my state only, but he lives very secluded from the metropolitan area, so he has his own farm and stuff, like everything organic, growing his own thing, permaculture, staying connected with the soil, and literally being sustainable, like solar power and collecting natural water and stuff. So there are like, I have friends who are doing this kind of stuff, so they are building on the ground. I have a friend in the hills in Himachal Pradesh who's sort of has his own land and he's doing this kind of stuff. So I just want that to go on, because honestly I see that as the best strategy for now. We don't have enough people in the cities to come and resist. So we need to buy some more time till we can move out and have relative freedom. Like these people right now who are living in these self-sustaining places, they're not facing the police, they're not facing the surveillance state. So it's not about escape, but it's just about like being strategic and playing it smart. So at least if you can move to these areas, you can still continue the online work and visit the cities whenever you want to. But at least a normal life is like, you have a reliable food supply, which is something that's not so reliable right now. People take it for granted that they'll just walk into the supermarket and there'll be food. But those kind of things are also being starting to be questioned now in the minds of people. So I think it's really important to start building on the ground. We're continuing our work to educate people online, but this is the time that we need to start building on the ground. And I'm so happy that you're doing something like that in Mexico as well, to give people like a chance who want to escape different countries to come and move into communities that are more aligned with our ideals, and people who don't actually believe in slavery to be legitimate. So that's kind of what's going on my side.
Well, that's awesome, man. I really do appreciate that. That's the direction you're moving in, and yeah, I mean, I think that really, I mean, you kind of said it there that if we stay in the cities, we're dependent on the grocery stores, we're dependent on the unsustainable food production system, and the people who are maybe, whether they're anarchists or not, but living in communities and using solar power and off the grid, so to speak, and also not being sucked into the technocracy, those people are going to be experiencing freedom in a way that is going to become very difficult for those of us who stay in the cities. And if we're in the big cities, especially a place like where you're at, it's going to be increasingly difficult, and that's just the reality. And as you said also, and I've tried to emphasize this, I don't think many people still get it yet, but it's not about escaping or running away, but instead trying to think of the future and trying to make sure that we can still, for one, stay alive and stay free and continue to build and continue to educate people. Because if we all fall prey to the technocracy and just keep waiting for some mass movement, I mean, we're going to get sucked into it as well, and that at some point it will be too late to leave or too late to opt out. And so I really appreciate that you are emphasizing that, and you're doing so much good work out there, brother. It's been just awesome to see you grow, and thankfully, as you said, this whole thing has kind of shaken up a lot of people. The Freedom Cells website has grown, at an exponential rate just in the last 2 weeks. I think we're past 2,000 members now after restarting and starting with zero. Once this panic and this pandemic has started to happen, more and more people have reached out, not only to me personally, but to the website and people looking for answers. So I am optimistic that through this difficult time, we can use it as a catalyst to create something better. And we have to be the ones to do it. Whether you're in India, Mexico, Texas, or the UK, wherever you're listening from, we have to be the ones to step up to the plate to make these differences, because nobody else is going to come along and do it. I mean, it's either going to be us or nothing's going to happen. I mean, that's just at least where my head's at. Anything else you want to leave everybody with, man, as far as just your perspective on what's happening in India and anything people should know?
Yeah, you touched on something very interesting there. I see a lot of people looking up to Trump and looking up to QAnon. It's like, I think there's something in the mind that it's kind of this virus that wants a savior in order to be saved from in times of difficulty. So I see a lot of people, looking for some extraterrestrial beings who come and save us, or they're looking for, someone in government who'll come and do something. But it's just a sad reality that there are beings in the spiritual world who are working with us when we expand our consciousness and helping us to do these things out here. But no one's going to come here and do the work for us. It's like, they're helping us so that we can become fearless and ditch fear and start to get on the ground and actually manifest our ideas into action. So I think that's something people need to understand very desperately, is that we are the cavalry that we've been waiting for. No government or no state or no fucking savior is going to come and save the day for us. We need to get on the ground and start doing the work for ourselves. And I'm so happy that that's the message that you've been spreading ever since you started the channel. It's like, most people get into this conspiracy material and then they just get so paranoid and so scared that they start looking for saviors everywhere. And this is why, there's so few people who are actually trying to do things on the ground. But I'm glad this crisis hit in a way, because it's starting to wake more people up. Like I can see it even in my own limited reach as well. Like from what I was doing earlier in the 4 years that I've been researching, and at least within my own timeline, and all the followers and everything I have on all the social media platforms is constantly bombarding this message every day. And then this thing hit, and I just saw that whole interest and curiosity rise in people. I hope this goes on though. Like, it shouldn't be like this whole thing ends and then people just get back to normal. But I'm happy that it's at least encouraging this sense of urgency in people. Like, I see a lot of New World Order conspiracy folks as well who think this is like the final master stroke and then it's going to be implemented from here. I don't think that's true though. I just think this is like a big step forward in that direction. And once this thing settles down, we've got a good push to start working. I think this is like a big push for the conspiracy community to actually start working and building things. So I hope they move in a good direction in India as well as everywhere else where people are starting to wake up to these things.
Absolutely, and you said it, man. Like if this isn't the final step, this is a big giant step in that direction. And if things do go back to normal, whatever that means, or to the new normal, and if we're not all locked up in camps, then we need to take the opportunity like never before to wake up as many people as possible, to reach as many people as possible, and not just to wake them up to the information, which obviously is important, but to show them that there's an alternative solution. Because as you said, people wake up to things and then they start freaking out and they're like, well, who's going to fix this? Maybe if I vote for this next guy, he'll help me. Or maybe if this secret insider, if I follow him, he's going to give me the truth and things like that. We have to be able to show people, human beings, we learn by seeing, and we can talk philosophy all day, but until we show them these communities and these freedom cells and these groups that we want to create and that we're in the process of creating, they are not going to believe that another way is possible. So I appreciate you and everything you're doing, and for joining those of us who are doing that on the journey. And I hope that everybody hearing this will join us on this journey to create a better world, not by following leaders, not by voting, and not by waiting for government to fix things, but by recognizing that you have power in your own heart and your own mind, and that when we come together as empowered individuals, we really can change things. And it's time for us to do that more than ever. So please do check out Yohan's content. Of course, you can find his videos that he's posted on our channel, and I know you've got lots more that you haven't posted on our channel, so we'll put the link to your website, of course, and your YouTube. And until next time, guys, remember, you are powerful, you are beautiful, and you are free. Peace.